Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 12, titled Vritrasura's Glorious Death. And today we're reading text number 12. Avidvan evam atmanam manyate nisham ishvaram bhutai srijati bhutani grasate tani tai swayam. Avidvam atmanam avidvanevam atmanam manyate nishamishvaram manyate nishamishvaram bhutai srijati bhutani bhutai srijati bhutani grasate tani tai swayam grasate tani tai swayam. Avidvan, one who is foolish, without knowledge. Evam, thus. Atmanam, himself. Manyate, considers. Anisham, although totally dependent on others. Ishvaram, as the supreme controller, independent. Bhutai, by the living entities. Srijati, he, the Lord, creates. Bhutani, other living entities. Grasate, he devours. Tani, them. Tai, by other living beings. Swayam, himself. Translation: a foolish, senseless person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although always dependent, he falsely thinks himself the Supreme. If one thinks, quote, according to one's previous fruitive actions, one's material body is created by the father and mother, and the same body is annihilated by another agent as another animal is devoured by a tiger, end quote, this is not proper understanding. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself creates and devours the living beings through other living entities. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. According to the conclusion of the philosophy known as karma mimamsa, one's karma, or previous fruitive activity, is the cause of everything, and therefore there is no need to work. Those who arrive at this conclusion are foolish. When a father creates a child, he does not do so independently. He is induced to do so by the Supreme Lord. As the Lord himself says in Bhagavad-Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hridhisana vishto matasmritir jnanam apohanam cha. I am in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Unless one receives dictation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who sits within everyone's heart, one cannot be induced to create anything. Therefore, the father and mother are not the creators of the living entity. According to the living entity's karma, fruitive activities, he is put into the semen of the father, who injects the living entity into the womb of the mother. Then, according to the body of the mother and father, yata yoni yata bijam, the living entity accepts a body and takes birth to suffer or enjoy. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is the original cause of one's birth. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the cause of one's being killed. No one is independent. Everyone is dependent. The true conclusion is that the only independent person is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnana Timrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulam Militam Yenam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Satam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Avidvam eva atmanam manyate nisham ishvaram bhutai sri jati bhutani grasate tanitai swayam. A foolish, senseless person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although always dependent, he falsely thinks himself the Supreme. If one thinks, according to one's previous fruitive actions, one's material body is created by the father and mother, and the same body is annihilated by another agent, as another animal is devoured by a tiger, this is not proper understanding. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself creates and devours the living beings through other living beings. Hare Krishna. I'm very grateful to have been asked to give the Bhagavatam class today. I don't feel myself at all qualified to do this service. There was a devotee that we knew many years ago. His name is Bali Maharaj Prabhu, and he was serving at the Gitanagari farm in Pennsylvania in America. And he's a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti-Tirtha Swami. And he's a black devotee, an African-American devotee from the south of America. And he's a very pious person and a very blissful person. And there's one astonishing story that we heard about Bali Maharaj Prabhu. One time he was going to pick up his Guru Maharaj, Bhakti-Tirtha Swami. And when he went to pick up Bhakti-Tirtha Swami noticed that there was a bullet hole in the windshield. And Bhakti-Tirtha Swami said, Jai Shri Krishna Balaram Shri Gornitai Lalita Vishaka Radhashama Sundar Ki Jai. So Bhakti-Tirtha Swami noticed that there was a bullet hole in the windshield. And Bhakti-Tirtha Maharaj said, Bali, what happened to the car? And Bali said, well, Maharaj, when I was coming to pick you up, I was stopped at the stoplight, and someone came and put a gun up to the window and said he wanted to take the car. And I thought, well, if Krishna wants to kill you, there ain't nothing that can save you. And if Krishna wants to save you, there ain't nothing that can kill you. So, Krishna wanted to save me. So Bhakti-Tirtha Maharaj was amazed at how advanced his disciple was and how much faith he had. His service was to pick up his Guru Maharaj. Even someone came and pointed a gun at him. And it didn't stop him from his determination to do his service. He was fully dependent on Krishna. And this, Prabhupada repeats this same comment in the Krishna book. He says there's a Bengali saying, Rake Krishna Mare Ke, Mare Krishna Rake Ke. Did I get it right? If Krishna wants to kill you, there's nothing that can save you. And if Krishna wants to save you, there's nothing that can kill you. And the example in the Bhagavatam is the story of Krishna's son, Pradyumna. Pradyumna was the son of Rukmini, and he was an incarnation of the demigod Cupid, who is empowered to incite lusty desires in the living entity. And he was also a partial manifestation of the Vishnu expansion, also with the name Pradyumna. So there was a demon named Shambhara who had understood that Pradyumna was destined to kill him. And so when Pradyumna was just a small baby, that Shambhara, by his mystic potency, transformed himself into the form of a woman so that he could get access to the place where the baby Pradyumna was with his mother and so on. And he stole the baby Pradyumna and threw the baby into the ocean, which generally you would think was a pretty good way of getting rid of somebody. But in this case, Pradyumna in the ocean was swallowed by a fish. And later, that fish was caught by a fisherman. And then that same Shambhara demon went to the market and purchased that same fish for his food. And he brought the fish home and he brought it to his cook to prepare a tasty fish preparation. And when the cook cut open the fish, he saw that there was a baby inside the fish. And so he gave, and that was the baby Pradyumna. So miraculously, that baby survived. They gave the baby to an assistant of the cook, and it was a woman named Mayavati. And Mayavati brought up the baby Pradyumna, and later expressed, when the boy was grown up, she expressed an attraction to the boy, which he thought was kind of amazing. And she explained that actually in a previous life, we were husband and wife. And so then so like that, miraculously, Pradyumna survived, even being thrown into the ocean and swallowed by a fish. Why? Because if Krishna wants to save you, nothing can kill you. And Prabhupada gives many examples like this. Sometimes a sick person is given all the best care and facility in the world, the best doctor, the best hospital, the best medicine, and still that person can die. And conversely, sometimes someone, even without getting proper care, may somehow survive. So essentially what's happening in this story now is Vritrasura is preaching to Lord Indra to fight with him. And the theme of what he's saying is exactly that theme. If Krishna wants to kill you, nothing can save you. And if Krishna wants to save you, nothing can kill you. Lord Indra, in this story, he's made a few doubtful decisions, you can say. The story starts with he's sitting on his throne in the King of Heaven. He's surrounded by all kinds of exalted personalities and all kinds of opulence. And his spiritual master, Brihaspati, comes to that assembly, and Indra failed to offer him any respect. That was a big mistake. And so Indra offended his spiritual master, and by that offense, his potency and the potency of the demigods was diminished. So Indra approached Lord Brahma about what to do, and Brahma's advice was, you've offended your guru, you're going to have to accept another spiritual master and worship that spiritual master. The demons are now in a very powerful position because while the demigods have offended their guru, the demons have worshipped their guru Shukracharya very nicely, and by that worship they've become very, very powerful. So what Brahma advised was that they accept another spiritual master, and he gave the name of Vishvarup. And Vishvarup, he said, you're going to have to tolerate, his father's side is coming from the demigods, and his mother's side is coming from the demons. So sometimes he may be a little partial to the demons, so you'll just have to tolerate that. So Vishvarup proved to be a very nice priest for the demigods, and he did great sacrifices on their behalf, and he offered Indra the Narayan Kavacha shield, which in the end of this story is going to save him from death. But at the same time, Vishvarup, when he was offering oblations, he was offering oblations to the demigods, but then a little bit he was giving some, in a hidden way, he was giving some oblations to the side to the demons as well. And when Indra found out about this, even though that Vishvarup had acted as his guru and had acted as his priest, Indra killed him because he was concerned that if Vishvarupa is giving oblations to the demons, that may give power to the demons. And so that was, the Bhagavatam says how that was a very, very sinful thing. And Indra had to suffer for that sin, and he also had to distribute the reactions of that sin. I think it's the earth. The earth is suffering, and it's full of desert. The trees were given some reactions, so there's some sin in the sap of a tree. And women were also given some sinful reactions, so they have to cope with some of the struggles of being a woman, I guess you can say. So Vishvarupa's father became very upset, naturally, that his son had been killed by Indra. And so he performed a great sacrifice to get another son that would kill Indra. And basically, that son is this Vritrasura. So Vritrasura kind of took birth to be a powerful demon in order to kill Indra. And so there's descriptions of great battles between Vritrasura and the demigods, and Vritrasura was a very, very powerful foe. It's described Vritrasura had a very powerful trident with which he was fighting with Lord Indra, who had a very powerful thunderbolt. And at one point in the fight, Vritrasura was like defeating Indra. And another thing is, when Vritrasura spoke, he chastised Lord Indra very severely that you've killed my brother. My brother was your priest and your spiritual master, and you're so bold and fearless that you killed him. What a horrible thing to do. So now it's my duty to avenge the death of my brother. And at the same time, Vritrasura spoke many prayers to the Lord, revealing that actually he was a great devotee, which was it's a very amazing thing. How is someone in a horrible demoniac form, speaking like such an exalted devotee? He prays for the mercy of the Lord, and he says he's not interested even in any of the opulences of heaven, in any type of material enjoyment. He's only interested in being attached to the worship, the remembrance of the Lord. So Indra has recognized that he's a great devotee. Maybe Indra is feeling some remorse for his action. And in the fight, at one point when Vritrasura is winning, Indra becomes ashamed and hesitates to fight. So what the verses are talking about here is Vritrasura is preaching to Indra, just do your duty and depend on Krishna and fight with me. Don't be independent and disregard your duty. You're a demigod, and your duty is to fight the demons. And I'm a demon, and you killed my brother, and it's my duty to fight you. So just depend on the Lord and fight me. In this verse particularly, he's preaching to Indra, don't think like an atheist. The atheists are thinking that God is not having control of one's birth and death. But the theist understands. Vritrasura says, if someone's thinking like that, that's a foolish thing to think. That's his opinion. That the atheists that are thinking that one is born and dies without the will of God being there, that is a foolish person. So don't think like a foolish person. You should understand that birth and death is happening by the will of Krishna. So therefore you should fight me. So that's basically the theme that's given here. And anyway, like I tried to say, if Krishna wants to kill you, nothing can save you. So, what are you worried about, Indra? Something like that. In the Bhagavad-Gita, Arjuna hears from Krishna how Krishna is manifest in all of the most wonderful things of this world. Krishna says to Arjuna, of light I am the sun, of the stars I am the moon, among syllables I'm the syllable Om, among sacrifices I'm the chanting of japa, of the immovables I'm the Himalayan mountains. Anyway, all of the most wonderful things that you can imagine in this world, they're just but a spark of my splendor, Krishna says. And so then in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, everybody knows, Arjuna asks, I want to understand this universal form and I want to experience it. Please show me your universal form. And so Krishna, he blesses Arjuna with divine eyes. And Arjuna sees the universal form of Krishna, full of countless millions of heads and arms and legs. He sees he sees Brahma and Shiva, all the demigods, all kinds of varieties of human beings are manifest in that form. Krishna says everything you want to see can be seen in the universal form. And so among the things that Arjuna sees in that universal form, he tells Krishna, he says, I see all of the sons of Dhritarashtra, Drona, Bhishma, Karna, and many of the prominent soldiers on our side of the battle. I see them rushing towards death in this universal form. And some of them I see their heads are being destroyed by your teeth. And so he expresses that he's become a little fearful, and he asks Krishna, please reveal, who are you, Krishna? Krishna famously says, Kalosmi loka kshaya krit pravridho, lokan samahartam iha pravrita, rite pitvam na bhavishyanti sarve, yevashtita prat yanikeshu yodha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement. And you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. So it's the same point. Arjuna was worried, how are we going to enjoy a kingdom if it's tainted with the blood of all of our friends? And if we kill all of these powerful soldiers, then we may be responsible that the society becomes overrun with irreligion. The women may become polluted and so on like that. And so Krishna's clearing his doubts, saying, you don't worry about, how you think you're going to manipulate and control the situation. Because ultimately, all of these soldiers, it's already predestined that I will kill them. You just have to become the instrument. You just have to do your duty. What is that Sanskrit term? Nimitta matram. Just be an instrument, Arjuna. Just be an instrument to... it's already ordained that these soldiers will be killed. You can just be an instrument. And Prabhupada refers to this as well. There's a conversation I saw with Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan where Prabhupada was talking about how one of the reasons that his preaching was successful in the Western world is he said that the Western people already have some detachment from their family lives. If you go to an Indian family and you ask them, please give us one of your sons, that's a very horrible thing to ask, because the family unit, at least at that time, was very, very strong in India. But Prabhupada was saying that in the Western countries, they already have some vairagya. They're already somewhat detached from their families. And so in that conversation, one of the other people said, "Oh, Swamiji, maybe you must have studied that. That's how you knew to go to America." And Prabhupada said, "No, I had no idea. That was Krishna's arrangement. I simply did my duty to my spiritual master, and by Krishna's arrangement, the environment in the Western world was favorable for my preaching. I was nothing but an instrument. It was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire that the holy name be spread in every village. Just he used me as an instrument. I just did my duty and I depended on Krishna." So that's really our ideal. Srila Prabhupada writes in this Bhagavad-Gita purport, Arjuna was refusing to fight, but he was told that he should fight in accordance with the desire of the Supreme Lord. Then he would be happy. If one is in full Krishna consciousness and his life is devoted to the Lord's transcendental service, he is perfect. Last weekend I was in New York City for the New York Rath Yatra, and at one of the temple programs, the Bhaktivedanta players from England, they did a drama about Srila Prabhupada. It was really nice. They had a drama about Srila Prabhupada asking Srimati Murarji for the tickets to get on the Jaladuta. She was very reluctant at first. She was saying, "Oh, but what if something happens to the Swamiji? He's just an old man. If he dies or something bad happens to him, it's going to be my fault. I can't take responsibility." And Prabhupada was so insistent, he demanded again and again. He waited for so many hours outside of her office. He pushed himself into her office so that it's much more difficult to refuse someone to their face. Initially she was just refusing with the secretary. "I'm sorry, Swamiji," she says, "it's not possible." But he waited and waited, and he pushed him, and he went into her office, and she had so many excuses. "Oh, Swamiji, it's so cold in the Western countries. Indian people don't understand how cold it can get in America." And this is not a problem. He had so many answers. She couldn't defeat him, and finally he convinced her. And Bhubaneswar Prabhu yesterday was telling me this Srimati Murarji, she was very powerful and she had a lot of money. Actually, it would have been easy for her to give him a plane ticket even. But he suffered on that cargo ship, the Jaladuta, for a month. We all know the story, suffering heart attacks. But the point is how Srila Prabhupada took all risk to do his duty in the service of the Sankirtan movement. All risk completely depending on Krishna. That's my understanding of the essence of this, how they're preaching here. One of my friends that I met in New York, he was serving here before in the Kirtan party. His name is Kishore Prabhu, and he's serving with Ram Roy's Harinam party. They're doing an unbelievable, amazing service, actually. That Harinam party is making Hare Krishna famous in New York City. And so Kishore has been part of that party maybe for 2 years or something like that. And so I asked him, and so what his service is, they go out every day and they do 6 hours of kirtan. They have book distributors, they have a fired up Harinam party, they have a great location in a place called Union Square Park, and practically thousands and thousands and thousands of people. They're right outside one of the busiest metro stations. It's a really good location, great Sankirtan spot. And there's thousands of people that come by every day. Acharya Nishta Prabhu also serves there sometimes. And so I asked Kishore Prabhu, I said, Prabhu, do you have any realizations you can share from me from doing this service? And he said something very wonderful. He said, my main realization is compassion. He said, to do our service of this Harinam, we really have to develop a real and genuine spirit of compassion. He said it may be easy, or in certain respects, it may be easy to do this service mechanically, just somehow going through the motions. You know, like Kishore is a really nice mridanga player. Yeah, you can just kind of sit there and beat the mridanga and maybe mind is somewhere else. We can do it mechanically, but that won't last. That won't be sustainable. Actually, we have to have real compassion for these people. Fully convinced that their highest need is Krishna consciousness. So I thought that was very wonderful. And I thought it was another very sweet, very practical example of someone really dedicating themselves for the pleasure of Krishna, fully depending on Krishna. It's not an easy thing. In New York City, it's a very difficult thing to be in New York City. The force of the material energy is very, very strong. I also lived there for a long time, and I have the experience. It's not always so easy to transcend the energy that's there. And so I was appreciating, here's a nice young devotee. He's taking all kinds of risks to serve Srila Prabhupada's movement. Wow, it's becoming so late. Just as far as the karma mimamsa philosophy, Krishna also speaks the karma mimamsa philosophy. In the Govardhan Leela, Krishna sees that Nanda Maharaj, they're setting up a big sacrifice to Indra, and so Krishna challenges his father about that. Nanda Maharaj says, no, it's very important. We have to worship Indra because we're agricultural people and Indra sends the rain. And to do good agriculture, it's really important that the rain come at the right time in a proper way. And Krishna, he doesn't speak pure Vaishnava philosophy, but he speaks this atheistic karma mimamsa philosophy as a way to get the residents of Vrindavan to stop worshipping the demigod Indra, but instead to worship Govardhan Hill and the cows. And the basic idea of the karma mimamsa philosophy is that the karma mimamsis, as far as I understand, they're considering that instead of God being the supreme cause of all causes, they're considering the laws of material nature as the supreme cause of everything. So the modern atheists basically say the same thing. The difference with the karma mimamsa philosophers is that the karma mimamsa philosophers also believe in reincarnation. So the modern atheists are less advanced because while they see all the physical laws of nature, they don't appreciate that there's also a moral law in the universe. They don't recognize that. But in any case, the Karma Mamsa philosophers are atheists because, like Krishna says, he says everything is done by our previous work. If we were pious in a last life, then the rain will come. And Indra doesn't really have any effect on that because Indra will only give rain if we were pious. And if we weren't pious, then he won't give the rain. He doesn't really have control over the situation. So anyway, so that's the Karma Mimamsa philosophy idea. I'm sorry it's getting so late. We'll just say a few words about Shyamananda Prabhu. It's his his disappearance day today. I'll just do my best. It says Shyamananda Prabhu was born in Utkal, in a place called Jurendra Badurapur. His father and mother were great devotees, and they had lost many children before the appearance of Shyamananda Prabhu. And so because of that tragedy in their family, Shyamananda's name when he was born was Duki Krishnadas. It said that he was very, very beautiful and very, very intelligent. All the scholars of his residence were astonished how in school he was so quick to learn Sanskrit, grammar, rhetoric, poetry. He was very, very brilliant. And he was very devotional as well. And so seeing the devotion in his son, his father suggested that he take initiation. He did take initiation. By his own inspiration, it said that Duki Krishna, he had a dream where he understood that his spiritual master was Hridoy Chaitanya Prabhu. And so he told his father, even though that guru was very, very far away from his place of residence, he insisted to his father, "This is my guru, I need to take shelter. I need to take shelter there." So he traveled that distance, and at initiation he was given the name Krishnadas. And Hridoy Chaitanya, he trained Duki Krishnadas, and eventually decided to send him off to Vrindavan to be trained under the guidance of Srila Jiva Goswami. So Duki Krishnadas, he traveled to Vrindavan, and he found Jiva Goswami. He very humbly surrendered to Jiva Goswami, and Jiva Goswami gave him a service that he should bring water from one of the kunds. So he was very happy to have that service, getting water for his very exalted teacher, Jiva Goswami. It was called Kanana Kunj. Whenever he would hear the name of Radha and Krishna loudly chanted in kirtan, and whenever he would remember their divine pastimes, he would become struck with wonder. From time to time, he would notice a girl who seemed to be a beautiful princess drawing water from the same kunj and carrying it on her head. At one point, when he was taking water from the kunj, he noticed a very beautiful ankle bracelet, and it was attached to a cloth also. And so he took that bracelet, hoping to return it to its owner. And at one point, Vishaka Devi, our Vishaka Devi, manifested at that kund and spoke to Duki Krishna. And Duki Krishna was astonished how she looked like a beautiful demigoddess. She asked him if he had seen a bracelet, and he said, yes. Does this bracelet belong to you? And Vishaka said, it doesn't belong to me, but it belongs to my girlfriend. She's a newly married girl. Please come with me so that we can return it to her. So Dukhi Krishna, he went and he returned that ankle bracelet to Vishaka's friend Radharani. And at that time, he took bath in the Kund, and when he came out of the Kund, he had the form of a very beautiful gopi. And Radharani blessed that girl by giving her new tilak and by giving her the name Shamananda. It said, your name will now be Shamananda. So when Shamananda returned to Jiva Goswami was astonished. How is it you have a new tilak? What's happened? So Shamananda told to Jiva Goswami what had happened, his experience that he had met Srimati Radharani and how she had blessed him with a new name and a new tilak. Jiva Goswami said, don't ever tell about this to anybody. But at the same time, he was wearing a new tilak, he was using a new name, and so naturally everybody began to speak. It was kind of a disturbance. How is it that he's not using the name and tilak given to him by his guru? And so a message got back to Hridoy Chaitanya, who was far away in Bengal or so, because they were always giving messages when people were coming back and forth. And Hridoy Chaitanya became very upset. He felt, how is this? My disciple has done such an independent thing. What, has he taken reinitiation, or what's gone on? Has Jiva Goswami done something? So that Hridoy Chaitanya, he traveled to Vrindavan and to investigate what happened. And when he met Shamananda, he very severely chastised him. What have you done? You've left me for another guru. What's happened? Then that night, Hridoy Chaitanya had a dream where it was revealed to him by Radharani that actually that tilak and that name was given by Radharani herself. And so then Hridoy Chaitanya was completely pacified and very satisfied and gave mercy to Shamananda. Very famously, Shamananda was studying under Jiva Goswami along with Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivasacharya. Later, Jiva Goswami sent those three out on a Sankirtan party to distribute books. There's a famous story of those books being stolen and then being recovered again. It's said that when those three would preach, they were very expert in kirtan, and they were always singing. And it's said that there are kirtan styles that were started by Narottam, Srinivasacharya, Shamananda Prabhu. I don't remember all the names. One is Maharshi. Oh my God, I forgot. Some people say those traditions are lost. Some people say they understand how those systems are. One person told me, as far as I understand, the kirtan style of Shamananda, if it's okay, it's, I think, something like the way our Saranga Thakur Prabhu, when he sings very beautifully. My understanding is that singing style is, someone told me like that, that's like the style of Shamananda. And like when our Jagat Guru Prabhu sings, that's something like the style of Narottam Das Thakur. They have that different style. Shamananda had many disciples. The important one is Rasikananda. After Shamananda Prabhu had been successful in his many preaching campaigns, he returned to Gopi Vallabhapur, and there, after some days, a big festival took place. After that, in the month of Asharha, on the day of Krishna Pratipad, the great Acharya Shamananda Prabhu entered into the eternal Leela of the Lord. His samadhi may be found in Gopi Vallabhapur, where the service of his deity goes on to this day.